if a situation arises that you were unprepared for. A situation such as a blizzard, a tornado, or being locked down due to a virus. Put yourself in any possible situation that could arise. Now ask yourself, what would you do? Where would you go? What do you need? Are you ready? Because what if tomorrow? Welcome to the What If Tomorrow podcast. I'm Philip.
And I'm Mark.
Man, tonight, I think we've got a pretty good show lined out. I don't know how many we know that have been affected or was affected last week by the AT&T outage, I guess you could say. But we're going to sit down and chat with that tonight. But first things first, we want to send you over to our affiliates.
Hey, this is Mark with What If Tomorrow and What If Tomorrow on the Fringe. Be sure to check out our website, whatiftomorrowmedia.com, and look at our cool merch. We've got t-shirts, hoodies, posters, and more. Our affiliates are Duke Cannon, EMP Shield, My Patriot Supply, and Conflicted the Game. Or check out buymeacoffee.com/whatiftomorrow and buy us a coffee. And as always, be sure to like, comment, and share on both Facebook and YouTube. It helps get our content out to others and help our channel grow. Now on with the show.
Yeah, guys, do us a favor. Help us out with our affiliates and stuff. I mean, Duke Cannon, I love Duke Cannon. That's all I use.
Same.
My Patriot Supply's got pretty much everything you need for long-term food storage. They've got little items and tools and stuff that you can use in a preparedness situation. Conflicted the Game, it's fun. And I do want to sit down and, invite some guys on to come over and hang out and play Conflicted the Game. That was a lot of fun last time we did it. I need to get a new deck, I think, maybe to try it out.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Maybe see what
Jess.
it's like. Oh, I don't have the chat up. Hey, Jess, how are you doing? Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff going on right now. Some stuff we want to kind of cover. Some of it we're going to just kind of leave it alone for now. But like I said earlier, we're going to cover a lot of the possibility of a cyber attack with this AT&T thing. I've heard some, and I'll admit it, it's a conspiracy theory, not mine. I didn't come up with this one, but to me, it's plausible. So, but first things first, we're going to cover a little bit of news, kind of see what's going on here. The old traditional, where'd it go? Oh, there it is.
What in the wide world is going on here?
Did you see that post I made on Facebook here last week or something like that, and said if Blazing Saddles was filmed today?
It'd be 7 minutes.
No, it was great. I got to see if I can find it now and share it. It was hilarious, I thought. Let me see if I can.
I mean, I don't think you could make Blazing Saddles today.
I know it.
Well, you couldn't have Sanford and Son or Archie Bunker.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Yeah, I don't post much to Facebook anymore. But if it's funny or something, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
Where's my audio? Oh, there it is. Yeah, isn't that the truth? I love that movie.
Yeah, I did too.
Just because he goes after everybody. Is it? I mean, maybe I'm being insensitive, but is it considered racist if the guy goes after everybody,
including himself?
Hey, there's my wife on the Night Acres. Go check them. Go check our channel out over there. Yeah, South Park does still get away with it, Jess. I haven't watched South Park in years, But
No,
yeah,
me neither.
they do get away with it, and I think that's great. I mean, let's see, what do we got going on here? One big one I heard today is they're saying several thousand uh, military-aged men from China have crossed the border. They're crossing both sides down and around San Diego, and I'm hearing stuff from up around Maine. The Canadian border. The Canadian border is just as porous as the southern border is. I mean, we have no borders.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of, I think tonight is kind of relevant to our main topic tonight, which is the possibility of a cyber attack, because the Russians and the Chinese are consistently trying to attack our infrastructure through cyber attacks.
They try to attack lots of people's infrastructure.
Yeah, they do. But this was a from Fox Business, December 11th, 2023. They have an expert, I'll just say, saying that the border crisis. I'm not going to throw the president's name in there, but the border crisis exposing the U.S. to exceedingly high sabotage rates as Chinese migrant encounters rise. Fiscal year of 2023 or fiscal year 2024, there's 7,166 all borders and port of entries. That's Chinese citizens. For the fiscal year of 23, there was 52,700.
That's
Hey,
like,
Sylvian, how you doing, sir? What's that, Mark?
how many is in an army division?
That's mine. I can have to do the math, or we can look it up.
I would just look it up because I'm an idiot.
In an army, a lot. I mean, there's thousands. Let's see up here. Where's it at? An army division is flexible in the total number of soldiers 10 to 15,000.
So several army divisions.
Yeah, at least 3. I mean,
yeah, that's not an I mean, we're looking at fallout right there. I mean,
yeah,
Chinese invasion.
Yeah, not to mention, I mean, we're just talking the Chinese, military age personnel coming across. We're not talking people from Syria and all Middle Eastern countries and all this
Iran,
stuff.
Iraq.
Yeah, we're not talking that. And it's, I don't know. To me, it's concerning.
It is,
because it only took 19 people on 9/11 to kill almost 4,000 people.
right. You get that many saboteurs or whatever going. I mean, yeah, it could be a nightmare.
Yeah, and this is new for me, so hold on. I'm really trying not to engage my conspiracy brain. I'm looking at the information as it sits and kind of wargaming it. I'm not really becoming conspiratorial on it. I'm just trying to be honest with my thoughts. But it's unnerving to realize. I mean, how many? I think I've seen a number of like 10 million encounters at the border. 10 million people over the last few years across the border.
yeah.
I may be wrong. I mean, I haven't looked it up, but I want to say I've seen around 10 million. I know I've heard 7 as well. So either way,
That's a lot of people.
That's more people in the state of Kansas. Probably state of Kansas and Oklahoma put together.
That sounds legit right there.
I mean, that's an entire state of people that have come over. You have the theory about the electoral displacement, things like that they're going to give them citizenship and have them vote and all that. I haven't dove really far into that, but is it plausible in my mind? Yes, it absolutely is plausible. I could see that, but I'm not saying it is or isn't. I could see more along the lines of an attack somewhere, and I'm not, and I want to be truthful. I'm really not trying to fear monger or anything like that. But this is the nature of our show.
Yeah.
We look at possible threats,
What
whether
if
it be
tomorrow?
exactly. I mean, we look at threats, whether it be weather, whether it be environmental, physical, you name it. We're trying to look at all these things through an objective lens. I mean, sure, we go down the rabbit holes and get kind of, especially me, I get conspiratorial. So I don't think it's too far fetched to say that this is a possibility. I mean,
No, it's not too far fetched at all.
I think was the last show that we did. We shared the information about the people crossing the border. Saying that the likely, the FBI director Ray is saying that it's not a matter of if, but when we're going to have a terrorist attack.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can't just let people come willy-nilly across the border when there are countries out there with the stated objective of killing Americans and bringing down our government.
Yeah, I mean, Iran, talked about wiping Israel off the face of the earth, wiping the United States off the face of the earth. I mean, look at the threat for what it is.
Yeah,
Try to
they have
understand.
made that threat in those
Absolutely.
words.
Yeah, and I take them at their word. That's the thing is a lot of pundits will say, "Oh, they're just making baseless
Saber
threats."
rattling or
Right? No, I believe these people because of their, how do I say this?
ideology.
Because of ideology. Yeah, um, that's what they're supposed to do. I mean, if you get into the ideology, they want to bring back the 12th Imam. And if you're not familiar with the 12th Imam, I'm just going to say, look it up. If you're familiar with the end times prophecies of the Christian religion, compare them to the end time prophecies of the Islamic religion, they're total 180. The 12th Imam is the Christian religion antichrist. They want to bathe the world in blood. And if you don't believe me, don't take my word for it. I'm never going to ask you to take my word for something. Do your own diligence. Go look it up. If you're questioning anything like that, and if I'm wrong, please correct me. I want to be corrected. I want the knowledge. Why we have access to it, because there's some other junk going on with the internet and people that think like we do, and I don't know. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole tonight, but yeah, there's some bills out there and executive orders and FCC's involved, and it's ridiculous. You mean huge names have been all but deleted off YouTube and all that, and it's getting worse. So I think, I mean, we barely have a toe print, let alone a footprint. And it might be the pinky toe. I don't know. But in Greece,
in Greece, we're big.
We're big. The 56th ranked
But
podcast in Greece.
I'm big every time I try to get through a door. Usually a blockage.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Jess. I mean, I missed your comment, but that's what we're talking about is 10% of these illegals, and we're looking at the numbers. They're well dressed Chinese men. Not to mention the fact that our neighbors to the north, Canada, has been training with them. Was it last? I think I want to say last summer. They had Chinese National Army training with the Canadian Army.
Yeah, that's not scary at all.
No, I mean, a lot can be said about Trudeau. I mean, we saw how he reacted to COVID. Um, really clamped down on it. All the truckers. I'm not going to get into all that because that gets really political. But look it up. Try to understand that and see what he did during the whole COVID issue.
Yeah, he's kind of a nightmare.
He is. He is. Um, but yeah, that's something we you have to be vigilant for. I don't think it really matters where you're at in the world, especially the Western world. Europe, North America.
Yeah.
Pay attention. I mean, keep your head on a swivel. Pay attention. I mean, the world's going nuts. There was, I mean, backstage, when Mark and I were just kind of hanging out, talking and sharing little articles and stuff that we're finding. I was skimming headlines and I was like, I was getting sickened, man, just seeing
Yeah.
some of these headlines. And I'm not even going to share them. But I'm like, people, I mean, people are evil. I'm not saying
Yeah.
all people. I'm really not.
Our capacity for evil is at least equal to, if not greater than, our capacity for good.
Yep.
It's just, it's tiring. It just makes me tired.
Yeah. And I really think, trying to cover these things and we've taken several breaks like a show or something just to kind of regroup, kind of dump all this stuff because it does it weighs on me, specifically. I can't speak for Mark, but it weighs on me after a while.
That's why I don't even hardly look at the news sometimes.
Yeah.
I'll go
I
for weeks sometimes.
Yeah, I have to dump it. Just regroup and refocus and okay, here we go again. Um and again, I mean, On the Fringe is a great break because we don't really talk about all that stuff. We talk about fun stuff and um kind of a lot of cool topics. Like next week we're doing stories from hospice nurses and stuff like that. It's going to be, I think, interesting.
Oh yeah.
So it does help that we've split this show up into every 2 weeks because it kind of gives us that little break between, from the world, really. I mean, a lot of what we talk about are in the world, but it doesn't really, it's not a life or death thing, or it's not a, hey, do this if this happens or whatever.
Right. Does this exist? I mean, and if it does, what does it mean? It's not people are coming for you and your family type stuff.
Right. Right. We don't have to worry about dictators and all that stuff. So, um, but Mark, you got a couple of other ones you wanted to share. I'm just saying, keep your ear or keep your head on a swivel. Pay attention to the world around you. I mean, do we have a lot to worry about where we're from? Small town USA. I don't know that we really do, but
I would be worried if I was in a big metro area.
for sure.
So,
But anyway, you were saying.
I do have a couple of things. One of them is kind of fun, and one of them is actually fairly serious. Cross-country storm wallops west in heavy mountain snow ahead of Midwest tornado threat on Tuesday. There is a significant threat of thunderstorms and tornadoes tomorrow in parts of the United States. Please check with your local weather and prepare accordingly. If you need help preparing, you can go to ready.gov and they have all kinds of advice to give you for preparing for storms and floods and all sorts of things.
Yep. And you did share the link for that on our on the What If Tomorrow group.
I have not. Oh, yes, I did actually the other
you
day.
got it up here.
I do.
So definitely, I mean, if you have questions, things like that, I mean, we also have it up on our pinned to the top of our page, for the FEMA website, things like that.
Right.
Uh, Something else just kind of came to me, Mark. You were talking about the weather and all that. Yeah, it's that time of year, especially here.
It
You
is.
know,
We are in Tornado
thunderstorms,
Alley.
tornadoes. Something else to think about, especially if you're in a rural area, the brush fires.
Brush fires. Yeah, we
I
had
mean,
some fires the other day.
yeah, I mean, a lot of farmers and ranchers are burning off fields this time of year. Matter of fact, I need to get mine burned off this year. I didn't do it this year. Um,
Hmm.
what's up, Chris or Sean?
He's
um,
calling us gentlemen again.
yeah, he's lying.
I know he's wrong.
But that's something else to think about. In rural areas where all these ranchers and farmers are burning off their pastures.
Yeah.
Like tomorrow, we have a red flag warning, high winds, all that. It doesn't take any time for that to get out of hand.
Some of these guys seem to wait for the red flag warnings to start their fires.
They do, don't they?
It's like,
I remember when I was in high school, I was on a volunteer fire department there in Liberty. Those of you who don't know, Liberty, where I grew up at, was maybe 100 people, little bitty farm town. And we got paged out to a fire over by Havana, which is pretty close to where I live at, just west of me a little bit, kind of north of where Mark lives. And it was a brush fire that got out of control, and we spent 8 hours on scene going up and over hills. And believe it or not, Kansas does have hills. But it burned, I think, at the widest point was like 8 miles wide. I don't
yeah,
remember. I think it was like 10 or 15 miles in length. And we just couldn't get it knocked down because we couldn't get up on top of those hills. Well, the wind was whipping, so it was blowing all those embers and stuff from the top of those hills out, farther. So it was igniting more, so yeah, I mean, it's easy for stuff to get away from, and so definitely have something. And then summertime, we're coming up on spring, summer in the the mountainous areas, up in the Rockies or the Sierras and all that, where they have all these, mountain, or the brush fires up there. I mean, those are by far worse than what we get here.
yeah, because there's no access.
No, I mean, and these guys are fighting it on foot. We never really fought it on foot. Yeah, some of us, we were out with packs on with water and flappers and all that stuff, trying to knock the embers and stuff out. But that's what these guys do. I mean, day in, day out,
Yeah, those
and
guys are heroes.
they lose a lot more property and livestock up that way than we do. But it's something to be mindful of.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, the weather's a big one this time of year for us. California, they're having all sorts of floods and
Yeah.
stuff out there.
If you're going to have a bug out bag, that's probably what you're going to bug out for is a fire.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, from a practical standpoint, that's where you're going to need to be prepared to get.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that being covered, my other article I thought was pithy. This is more fun. Construction workers being replaced by AI robot bricklayers. This is a real deal, people. They have bricklaying robots. They still need a mason for pointing, mortar smoothing, and wall tie installation, but the robots are the ones actually placing the bricks. And don't worry, no jobs were harmed in this because there is apparently a huge shortage of bricklayers because it is dirty, nasty, and hot. Nobody wants to do it. Go figure.
Isn't that most of the trades now though?
Yeah, because they teach you in school you're not anything unless you have a college education.
Right.
And what I am seeing is that most of these kids who have decided to go into a trade are making 2 to 3 to 4 times as much as a lot of these people who have gone to college and can't pay their student loans.
Right. And I mean, honestly, I would say a lot of that is also their degree field.
Right. I mean, if
You
you're
know?
going for liberal arts, your odds of getting a job in said arts are incredibly low.
Right. It's
Hard
like we had
science, not
go
so
ahead,
much.
sorry.
Hard
Yeah, we
science,
had
not so much. Those guys find jobs.
yeah, we had a guy that worked with us here, I don't know, a few months ago. I don't know, since last summer, I think he moved on. But he had a degree in biology, just plain biology, nothing specialized. And he was turning wrenches with us. Yeah. And my wife, she said little to no student debt. That's right. Um, so yeah, I mean the trades aren't a bad thing.
No, not bad at all.
We need to do another show on AI. We haven't really done one in a while. And there's been,
We
I mean,
do.
just in the time since the last time we did AI,
It's
there's been
grown so much.
there's been so many advancements. So I think we need to sit down and kind of do some looking on that and kind of compare.
Yeah,
But
I agree. That sounds like fun.
yeah. But anyway, if that's all you got, we'll move on to the main part.
Yeah, meat and potatoes now.
I don't know. I mean, I don't have AT&T, but last week, what they say? I got it written down. I got it down here somewhere. Trying to see, mainly in the cities. They had 73,000 reported incidents, and had more than that began at 3:30 a.m. Eastern. Had more than 58,000 outages around noon. In locations including Houston, Atlanta, and Chicago, the carrier is the country's largest with more than 240 million subscribers. By 9 p.m. Eastern, reports on AT&T's networks were fewer than 1,000. They're all saying it wasn't a cyber attack.
Right. And it may not have been. I mean, they're saying it was an accidental misconfiguration, which to me makes it even more frightening because an accidental misconfiguration caused this much chaos. What happens when somebody actually hacks it and it's an intentional mis configuration?
Right.
And even if this one wasn't a cyber attack, there is such a history of cyber attacks, even in the last year, that it bodes looking at.
Absolutely, it does. I mean, what was it? Was it last year or year before? I know we talked about it on here, just at least in passing. But that oil pipeline got
Right.
hacked.
Right.
Here in the States. I think they determined that was Russia, or I don't know. I don't know who they determined, if they determined. But it's happening all the time. Now, I say cool, but one theory that I've heard and makes a lot of sense is, what if, okay, I mean, the show, what if,
It is. That's what the show's about.
what if this was a cyber attack? Right? All this corrupted data or these files or whatever it is. I'm not a computer guy. I don't know a lot about this stuff. But what if this data was sent to the towers, knocked? I mean, granted, I'm pretty sure the towers don't control the data, but the company is sending data through the towers to everybody's phones. What if this data they sent is corrupted or something like that, or there's malware or something in it? I don't know what it would be. Like I said, I'm pretty illiterate when it comes to that stuff. But when you get your service back, bam, you hit those towers, that data is transmitted to your phone. Well, if that data is transmitted to your phone, does that give them access to all your passwords, your banking information, whatever your Facebook or whatever?
It could. China had spyware built into the hardware of iPhones for a while, and may still have it in there. They had spying hardware in the iPhones, and yet every government agency and corporation insists on using iPhones. Why would you trust something made by somebody who is your enemy?
Right.
Samsung is made by Koreans who get paid very well for their work, unlike some slave labor has been attributed to iPhones.
Yeah, Apple's got those. I can't remember the name of the company over there. It's not Apple, but they build the iPhone. They have
Yeah.
suicide nets on the building because people they're slaves.
So anyway, I know they supposedly don't use slaves anymore, but they did in the past,
Right.
and it's been admitted. So I'm going to go over just for shits and giggles. Just January 2024 cyber attacks. If
Okay.
that's okay with you.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. News article January 2024. Hackers breached Global Affairs Canada Secure VPN in December 2023, allowing hackers to access sensitive personal information of users and employees. It affected staff emails, calendars, and contacts, and it is unclear if classified information was compromised or lost. Identity currently unknown. Russian hackers launched a ransomware attack against Sweden's only digital service provider for government services. The attack affected operations for 120 government offices and came as Sweden prepared to join NATO. Sweden expects disruptions to continue for several weeks. Microsoft announced that Russian hackers broke into its corporate systems. Hackers used a password spray attack to steal emails, documents, and accounts from Microsoft's senior leadership, cybersecurity, and legal teams back in November. Russian hackers attacked 65 Australian government departments and agencies and stole 2.5 million documents in Australia's largest government cyber attack. Hackers infiltrated an Australian law firm that worked with the government to gain access to government files. I'm still not done. The Australian government identified and sanctioned Alexander Ermakov, the Russian hacker who breached Medibank, the country's largest private health insurance provider, in 2022. He stole information from 9.7 million current and former Medibank customers. This is the first time Australia has issued cyber sanctions against an individual since this framework was established in 2021. Final one for January. This is just January. This month, folks, that these articles came out. Russian agents hacked residential webcams in Kiev to gather information on the city's air defense systems before launching a missile attack on Kiev. Hackers changed the camera's angles to gather information on nearby critical infrastructure facilities and stream the footage on YouTube. Ukraine has since ordered webcam operators in the country to stop live broadcasts. That's just January of this year. Articles from January this year. And this goes clear back to 2006. It's pages and pages and pages long. And this is from the Center for Strategic and International Studies. .org. CSIS.org.
I've got an article pulled up here. Where'd it go? Of official alerts. Okay. From the CISA.gov. It's a government organization. I don't even know what the CISA stands for. Well, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. Okay. It's another governmental agency. I'll just scroll down. I'm not going to read them all, but there are tons.
It's frightening.
Yeah.
Absolutely frightening.
Here's ransomware attacks against kindergarten through 12th grade educational institutions. Cybersecurity Advisory, the FBI, Department of Health and Human Services, describing the tactics, techniques, and procedures used by cyber criminals against targets in healthcare and public health. Let's see. VPN vulnerabilities. North Korea cyber threat. I mean, just tons of stuff, man. So it's happening on a daily basis, one way or another. What I think unnerves me the most is that our infrastructure, all the things we need, our banking systems, our water, our electric, even our oil production is all computerized. It's all ran by computers. If a hacker can knock down your electrical grid, who knows? I don't know what or how long that would be. It depends on how much damage they did, I guess.
Yeah, it wouldn't take much to topple our whole infrastructure. If they got the right place, they could topple our whole grid.
Yeah.
In hours.
Yeah, and then in a way, you're looking at an MP like situation, or a CME like situation. You don't have any power. If you're without power for a substantial amount of time, people start dying.
Yeah. Even just 48 hours is enough to cause total mayhem.
Yeah.
It'd be the perfect time to launch a nuclear attack.
Absolutely, it would. Because it's your infrastructure is gone. Now, surely, I mean, like hospitals and things like that will have backup, like a diesel generator or something like that.
That's the only good thing about that.
Right. And that's what you need to think about. I mean, no power. If you don't have power, your refrigerator, your food, all that stuff will spoil if within a certain time.
Stores.
Grocery stores.
How much stuff will spoil in the distribution centers?
Right.
Right.
So it's things like this that you should really think about. I mean, is a cyber attack as severe as an EMP? Probably not.
Probably not, because once the grid comes back up, all your stuff still works.
Right. But it's going to be uncomfortable for that time. I mean, think about when you lose your power during a storm. I mean, some places, I mean, I've seen, a couple of days with no power.
Yeah,
if it's a pretty severe storm.
Year was out without power from Father's Day for 5 days.
Yeah.
It was totally disruptive to the whole city of Tulsa.
Yeah. Would it be so bad? I mean, out here where I live, probably not. But you get into bigger cities and you're out of power for a while, there's going to be some stupid things happening.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of human beings. I mean, look at the news. I mean, I've already kind of alluded to that. I mean, a lot of people don't care.
I scrolled for how long before I got to 2022?
Right.
When I for those of you who aren't watching, I pulled up data of cyber attacks and I scrolled for a good 30 to 60 seconds before I got to 2022.
Yeah.
There's a ton of them. Some of which were on infrastructure.
Yeah, so, and our infrastructure is a prime target. Go ahead.
I would say some of these attacks were probably dress rehearsals for an attack on the United States.
No, I wouldn't disagree with that at all. How hard, would it have? How hard of a hit to our infrastructure? I mean, think about this. You lose electric. Everything revolves around electric. Your water, your shipping, cell phone service. all that stuff.
Shipping, your distribution centers that keep your vegetables and food fresh. What
Yep.
happens when they don't have electricity? Millions of tons of food spoil within hours. People start starving. Food prices skyrocket even more than they're predicting now.
Right. I just seen another thing today that they're talking food prices rising.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, but inflation's under control. But no, really think about, you know, we have a deep freeze. We have, you know, not quite half a beef now. We've been eating on it. We got a whole hog in there. We got chicken. You know, we've got stuff in our freezer. If it hits in the summertime, it's not good. I mean, sure, it'll stay. If you leave it closed, you'll probably be all right for a couple of days. You know, because everything's frozen in there. But was it last year? No, it wasn't last year. I think it was like the year before. Our freezer just went out.
Yeah. You lost a lot, didn't
I
you?
lost a lot of meat. And let me tell you, that was nasty to clean
Oh,
up,
that's no
man.
fun. I've
Oh,
cleaned that up before.
and you know, I had a big fire going. And I just burnt everything. And yeah, it's just something to seriously think about. Yeah, Sylvian, solar panels. That's a
Solar
good
panel,
idea to have.
gas generators are great. You can, for $15, you can get an inverter at Walmart that you can hook up to your car and use to run your fridge and your freezer. You wouldn't want to run them all the time, but you could run them a couple hours, you
Yep.
know, off and on in cycles to keep everything going.
Yep. Yeah, my wife said we'd have one big ass barbecue. Everybody come over. You know, I mean, you know, even now, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, we got a fire pit with a grill grate and stuff like that we can use, and good cast iron that we can use. But I mean, I have an electric smoker,
Right?
and that wouldn't work. You know, so I've got a propane smoker too, so we could use that and all that. But it's more of just an inconvenience, especially if it's several days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would agree. Salt for dry meat, Sylvian. Yeah, I would agree. Definitely preserve it. If there's a way, I mean, you could make jerky or something like that once everything's thawed out. But it doesn't take long for all that stuff to start rotting, especially in the summer heat or whatever. In the wintertime, I'm not so worried about.
Yeah. Well, and think about this. A lot of people have whole house generators that run on natural gas. The electrical grid goes down. All of the pumps and switches that move that natural gas around the country, they could
They're gone.
stop.
Yep.
Now, hopefully, these places have backup generators. I would hope that they do. But what happens when your natural gas runs out because they don't have electricity to keep the valves open?
Yep. Even for that matter, in the wintertime, especially
Right?
up north where it gets like really stinking cold, like, negatives, and you don't have natural gas to heat your home with. What are you going
Yeah.
to do? I mean,
They only run so long.
right. I mean, we get cold snaps here. It seems like we used to get more. Maybe it was different when I was a kid. I don't know. It seems like we did. But the last few years, it hasn't been terribly cold here. I mean, sure, we've gotten some really cold snaps, like negative temperatures, but lasted for a week or whatever. And the rest of the winter was decent. I mean, lows in the 30s, highs in the 40s, maybe low 50s. It's been decent. You can run
Yeah.
around with a hoodie on, you're good. Like now we're at the end of February and it was 83 today,
It was
something like
83
that.
degrees when I left work today.
Usually February, March is our worst part of our winter. I mean, I'm not.
Watch out. I remember that March 31st blizzard a few years ago.
Yeah, I'm not convinced we're out of the woods yet, but I wouldn't disagree. My wife, she said she would bet that most places up north have a wood burning stove. If they don't, they should. Yeah, and you're right. I would
Well,
agree with
except in
that.
the
But
cities, maybe.
yeah, in the cities, they probably crack down on that because of pollution and whatnot, and have some kind of ordinance. But
You know,
yeah, it's
government
just
wants to run your life,
yep. I mean, they're wanting to get rid of gas stoves anyway.
right?
So I mean, and like we have here, I mean, I think most people in the country will probably be okay because a lot of their stuff is run off propane. Most of them don't have natural gas lines running to them. We got a big propane tank out here, and that's really how we heat our house. That's all we use. I mean, we have electric, cook stove and heat, or not heat, but you know, to supplement, we have electric heaters and stuff like that. But the largest majority of our heating is from propane. We'll get a tank that'll usually get us through the winter, then we'll fill back up late summer.
Yep.
My wife said to Hush she wants to plant her garden. Yep, she's already got seeds started. She's got cabbage and peppers and stuff already coming up, and I think she said she's going to work on tomatoes this weekend. So
Sounds good to me.
yeah.
I like homegrown tomatoes.
Oh yeah. I mean, heck, we're only a couple weeks out from planting cabbage, or not cabbage, but potatoes and cabbage. But yeah,
Are you
ain't
guys
gonna be long.
doing the non-GMO vegetables?
Yeah, as best we can. Yeah. Yep. I do know some of our seeds, and it's kind of cool. Some of our seeds we've actually gotten from produce that we bought from the store. I know
Oh, nice.
we've got we got a ton of butternut squash last year out of one butternut squash we bought. We saved the seeds, planted them, got tons of them. That like took over our garden. And I think we're doing spaghetti squash this year, something we stole, or not stole, something we got from the store. I'm not hurting yet for that much. But and we got some, I want to say poblano peppers
Oh,
that we got
nice.
seeds from, and they sprouted. So y'all, that's something to think about, especially right now. We're going into the planting season. Time to start your seeds now. Maybe actually a little bit past, but it'll work. If you don't want to go out and spend $5 or so for a package of seeds, get some organic produce and take the seeds.
Yep.
Start them. It works.
You can get a starter kit of heirloom seeds on Amazon for $28.99.
Yep.
It's got 32 different varieties of heirloom vegetables, which will breed true year after year after year.
Yeah, absolutely, Jess. She forgot to throw away last year's jack-o'-lanterns. Maybe some free pumpkins this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, we've just been trying these little things, and then my wife likes Gala apples, so we bought a bag of Gala apples, and she saved some seeds. Her and my daughter are kind of trying it out, and started 9 Gala apple trees. They're only they're not real big right now. No, they're maybe a couple inches tall right now.
In
But they
10 years,
sprouted.
you'll be having apples.
Yeah, they sprouted. And I think what she did, she wrapped them in laid them out flat on a paper towel, and just kept wetting the paper towel till they sprouted, and then she transplanted them into dirt. And she's got a UV light over the top of them, and yeah, they're 2-3 inches tall. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And, like I said, if you get the heirloom ones, you can reuse the seeds from those plants year after year after year. They will always be the same.
Yep. Now, I will say with that, we we got our yellow squash and zucchini squash cross-pollinated last year. So we had yellow zucchini squash last year.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah. I mean, it tastes like zucchini. It still tastes like squash, but yeah, it was yellow. It wasn't because they were going bad. It was just they were yellow. You know, and I don't know what she's got planned. I keep telling her that she's got enough seeds, and she keeps telling me to hush. So it's probably wise that I just hush. So,
Yeah, probably so.
um, but yeah, she's got that planned out. I think we're going to be doing potatoes and cabbage. I think broccoli. I think she's got broccoli, Brussels sprouts. We're going to try this year. I don't remember what else she's got. Two varieties of cabbage. She's got purple cabbage and green cabbage.
Potatoes are a good root crop that anybody can grow in their backyard
Yep.
with just a burlap bag and dirt.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we planted some in bags here a couple of years ago. We didn't get the yield we wanted, but we got a bunch. But we had I don't remember how much we had last year's, like 70, 80 pounds of potatoes last year. And we saved a lot of them for seed potatoes this year, and they're going crazy under our cabinet in a brown paper bag. They've got roots on them
Oh yeah.
8-10 inches long.
I accidentally grew a sweet potato on my shelf because I forgot I had it.
Nothing wrong with that.
Got to
Now
plant this fall, guys.
yeah, we did plant or some sweet potatoes last year, and it didn't work out too well because our ground is more clay.
Yeah.
But there's this little bitty guys. It wasn't even really worth harvesting. We pulled a couple of them, and we're like, oh, yeah, it's not even worth it. But we have a big stock tank. We're going to move and put dirt in. We're going to plant them in that. That way we can have a lighter soil.
Yeah. Yep. Potatoes
yeah.
are a good crop. They provide a lot of nutrition
They are.
for very little effort.
They are, absolutely, and they're so easy to grow.
They're hardy, very hardy.
Yep. We shared last year what we did with our garden. Laid down the cardboard and the straw and threw some rabbit poop all over it. To fertilize it, and just I cut a hole in the cardboard, dig up the ground just a little bit, throw it in there, cover it back up, and went.
Yeah, you had a good garden. Especially considering the lack of moisture we had last year.
Yeah, it was a pretty good garden. Steve, he said he was getting significant speeds from Starlink and even greater speed from his T-Mobile trial. That was last week. Yeah. It seems like AT&T, I think there's a few Verizon customers that hadn't had an issue. I didn't have any issues. Mark, didn't you say you guys had a little bit?
We had a little bit of issues. My wife messaged me to see if I'd paid the bill. And I got online and looked, and the bill wasn't even due yet. So, but it righted itself. There was some issues on and off throughout the day, but it pretty much had itself straightened out by 8 a.m.
Yeah, like I said, we didn't have any issues, but the time to time, I'll pull in my driveway and jump into SOS or something like that. But that's where we're at. I don't have a great signal out here.
Yeah, Verizon doesn't have a very good signal in our area.
No.
So that's why I'm with AT&T, because we have the best signal.
Right.
But yeah, that was disconcerting.
I bet.
And then with all the rumors of it being a cyber attack was really concerning.
Yeah, think about it though. How ingrained are these?
Oh yeah.
How ingrained are they in us now? I grew up without a phone. We didn't have a phone in my house when I grew up. My dad hated it because he seemed like it rang at every insignificant chance that it could.
We were on a party line.
And Dad got tired of it. My sister, and this is when, I think Liberty to Coffeyville is like 9 miles, and that was considered long distance. And, we went to school in Coffeyville, and my sister with her friends ran up the phone bill, and Dad's like, nope, pull it out. So yeah,
yep.
Got rid of it.
I remember Dad would complain for I mean, I could only call Udall and have it be local. Everything else was long distance.
Yep. And so, but still, I mean, you almost feel naked when you don't have your phone on you.
Oh yeah. I hate using the phone, yet I mean, I feel weird if I don't have it with me.
Right. And what's sad is I heard a statistic today. The average person has 7 hours of screen time on their phone a day.
Oh, I bet.
You know, especially, I'm not picking on, but Gen Z. And I blame us for that because when they're kids, they're being kids, rowdy, noisy, whatever. You just give them your phone. Here, watch this or play a game. I blame us for that. That's our fault.
Yeah. We got our kids phones because we wanted to keep an electronic leash on them.
Right. And I did too. My older sons, I mean, I got them a phone, just a track phone to start. I want to see how responsible they were with it. And hey, if they need to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me. And then it progressed, and eventually got both of them a phone and all that. But I blame us for the amount of screen time that we allow our children to
Oh
be
yeah.
on. And I say us as in, my generation or our generation,
Oh yeah.
society in general. I mean, they use these as babysitters now, and it shouldn't be the case. Um,
Well, and in our generation, it was the television.
right.
I watched hours and hours of television every day, and now I'm lucky to watch 1 or 2 hours a week.
Mm-hmm. It's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing.
I'm guilty. I'm not sitting there saying that I don't spend a lot of time on my phone. Downtime. I'll check out YouTube or TikTok. I'm barely on Facebook anymore, but
Right.
I'm still on it, and I
I
have
have a.
to make a.
Go ahead.
I was going to say I have to make a conscious decision to put it down
Hmm.
because we're all addicted to it.
Yeah, I have a bad Kindle addiction. It's terrible. I mean,
Yeah.
I bet I read 5 hours a day.
Right. I mean, I think I can pull this up. I was going to look and see how much screen time I've had today. Now, granted, I'm on my phone all the time at work with bosses' texts and stuff like that. But I'm below average, I guess. I had 58 minutes daily average. So, I
I
mean,
don't
I
even
can't.
know how to check.
Mine's in the settings. But I've been trying to make a conscious effort to put it down. It's down 65% from last week. So,
Yeah,
but
I've got a lot of time on mine, but yeah, I can't find it. I'm not gonna worry about it. I don't need to be on the phone.
right. But yeah, I mean, it's just so convenient. Hey, I want to look up something. Man, pull it up. You've got it. I'm
I've
not saying
fixed so
it's
many cars off of
yeah,
YouTube.
yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's a terrible thing, but it can be. I mean, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great for what you need. If you're looking up something like that, but I think we as a society need to back off on it because the depression rates. I have to see what I can find on. It was all part of what I was listening to today, especially the younger kids. I say younger kids as like teenagers, people coming into their own with these devices. Depression rates correlate with screen time. like I said, there's like 7 hours average, and it goes up by an hour pretty much every year.
Yeah. And they ought to be having FaceTime, not the app. They ought to be
Right.
having FaceTime
Well,
with actual people. They would feel better.
that's what I was going to mention next is that average, 7 hours of screen time, the average for face-to-face conversation with somebody is only an hour a day. That doesn't count TV, that doesn't count video games. And I love video games.
Oh yeah, me too.
I'm not excluding myself from any of this. I love video games. I mean, because they're relaxing, they kind of help you check out, kind of getting
Absolutely.
out of your head and just waste time. And essentially that's what it does. But it averages most people average less than 7 hours of sleep a day. I'm trying to pull this off the top of my head. But overall, people average, I want to say like 20 hours a day with screen time of some sort, video games, TV, and all that junk. And that's counting, if you got TV on, we're guilty of it here. If you have the TV on, you're also on your phone. The TV is
Yeah,
basically just background noise.
I've seen that, done that.
So we have to make a conscious decision to put the devices down. Now that's easier said than done.
It is. I mean, it's addictive.
So I guess before I went on that diatribe, my point is we're so addicted to our devices. If electric was out, most people wouldn't know how to act.
Yeah. How do you use a deck of cards?
Right.
How many people have forgotten how to use a deck of cards?
Right. How many people know card games anymore?
Not many.
I mean, it's something to just to maybe give you food for thought. It's not. I'm not saying that the phones are the end of the world and all that, but they're having a huge impact, and I think a negative impact on especially the younger generations.
We'll just see how nuts people went just with a few hours of issues the other day
Right.
on one or two carriers. I mean, to the point of absurdity.
Yeah.
People were losing their shit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
And what's crazy to think about is we're so interconnected with our devices that we forgot how to have that one-on-one conversation.
yeah.
And I'm admittedly I'm not a people person. I'm not. I enjoy a good conversation, but I don't have a huge range of people I would call friends.
Same.
And personally, I think that's the way it should be. You should have a handful of really good friends, some acquaintances. I mean, I'm not saying I'm a jerk to people. I'm not. Well, some people may think I am, but I'm working on that, I promise. But that's an art form it seems to have been lost, is the ability to have a conversation with somebody.
I mean, it's true. It's true. My kids hate going with me to the grocery store or Walmart because I'll stop and talk to 20 people. Who's that? I don't know. Nice fellow though.
Yeah. Yeah.
People just don't do that anymore.
No,
You
they
used to
don't.
visit with your neighbors. You used to visit with people you saw at the store. Strike up a conversation.
And I think that goes back to what we talked a lot about last year, was building your community. Because that
Yeah.
art form is gone. And it's up to us to bring that back, to get to know your neighbors.
You're just going to have to make a conscious effort to do it.
You absolutely do, and thankfully I've got some really good neighbors. One I don't really care for, and he's kind of the I mean, I don't have a huge neighborhood, I mean, my
There's
nearest neighbor is
always
3/4 of a
one.
mile away. But this guy, he's literally been to jail for cattle rustling.
That sounds.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's
There's
almost
always that
unheard
one
of.
guy, Phil.
It's
Always that one
almost
guy.
it's almost unheard of. But I know most of my neighbors now. I mean, worked with one for years, you know him. Um, the other guy lives around the corner. He's an old Vietnam vet, super nice guy. And then the other corner, I went to high school with them. So I've known them for years.
Yeah. I remember knowing all of my neighbors for several miles around when I was a kid. I mean, how many people can say that these days?
Right.
I
I
mean,
can't.
I would get on my bike and ride over to the neighbor's house to ask her if she was done with the phone so my dad could make a phone call. Or go over to the other neighbor's house and say, "Hey, dad or mom needs X.
Right.
Can I borrow it?"
Yeah.
You don't see that anymore.
No, you don't.
And you don't see me riding a bike anymore, obviously. I mean, look at all this.
Well, you live in a neighborhood now. You don't live out in the
Bikes
country.
bikes cry when I walk by.
But I mean, like the guy that we work with. I mean, last summer he bought some chickens from me. We shared some of our stuff with him that we got. You know, I dropped it off. Just trying to be a good neighbor. You know, some of our produce. The old Vietnam vet, we did the same thing. He's brought us beef that he's had butchered. He's brought us some roast and stuff and gave it to us. You know, and that's what the community thing is just basically being nice to people. If
Helping
you
each
have an
other out.
abundance, you know,
I remember the neighbor stopped and say, "Hey, you want some corn? Just stop by the field and grab what you want."
right? I'll never forget.
Hmm.
There's an old farmer just south of Liberty, and he would always plant sweet corn for people to come out and pick.
Right?
Right? I mean, yearly, and he didn't care. I mean, we would go out and pick trash bags fulls.
Yeah.
I mean, he had several hundred acres of nothing but sweet corn just for people to come pick. He didn't charge anything, none of that.
Yeah.
And you know, of course, I mean, I rode out there with my dad while my uncle was with us, and Dad told him we were sneaking onto this place to go steal some sweet corn. And I don't know, I may have been my son's age, you know, 8, 9 years old. And they were out there picking corn, and I was in hanging out by the truck, and I kept honking the horn. And my uncle's freaking out. He goes, "You shut up, you know, you're gonna get us in trouble." I mean, he was freaking, it was hilarious. But yeah,
there's
I
a
mean, go ahead.
there's a turnip patch over here by Niates that you can still go get turnips.
Yeah.
Although I'm not getting turnips. No. Just say no.
Yeah. I found I like rutabagas better than I do turnips.
Yeah. I I
Yeah.
can I can identify with that. Just said
They're
there used
they're
to be a free strawberry field near Bartlesville.
oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You know, and that's just the type of people that, you know, obviously we grew up around.
Yeah.
People willing to help out a neighbor, people willing to come and help you if you needed something, and then vice versa. If you needed something, you'd go help them.
Now, I remember the
And
local farmers around our place. Sometimes we had to get on the phone and see who had what because we forgot who we loaned it to.
right,
I mean,
you know, that's
everybody borrowed each other's equipment.
yeah, because you had to.
Yeah.
You know, you had to. I mean, if your baler went down, hey, you know, Jim down the road's got one, you know,
Yep.
and it's you know, maybe he's not using it. And usually Jim would let you borrow it if he wasn't using it.
Hell, Jim would come down and bale the hay for you
Right. Absolutely.
for a
You
six
know,
pack of beer.
yeah. My dad was that way he was a carpenter, and usually there was beer involved. You know, if somebody needed something done, you know, he'd go help them out. and he'd usually take a bag of vegetables or something and give it to them,
Right.
and they'd give him beer, whatever, But that's just the way things were. I mean, people were more of a community. I mean, so that's hugely important, especially when things go bad. Whether it doesn't matter how long, but if things go bad, you need that community.
And it's never been more possible than it is right now.
Right. I mean, again, I was just railing on cell phones, but that's a good way too. Really?
Yep.
My wife, I love her. She got 75 strawberry plants.
How sweet.
I love you, dear. But yeah, man, I don't really have a lot more. Just, you guys keep your head on a swivel, pay attention to the world around you.
Yep. I
Um,
did post a link of all those cyber incidents on our group. So read through it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, don't forget next week or no Wednesday. Wednesday, Bordertown Strange, Cursed Objects Part 2.
Yeah. And it keeps growing. It may be a part 3. I'm not sure.
That's awesome. And then next week on the Fringe, we're doing hospice stories, experiences. What else do we have going?
Well,
I don't think we have anything else going. Go ahead.
Be sure to stop by and see us next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Check out the Night Acres. We've got some videos up. I'm going to be starting to make some more now that we've got planting and stuff going on. We've been pretty busy over the last couple of months. Haven't got a lot out, but we haven't done a lot either. So, yeah, check it out. Hopefully we got some baby pigs on the way. I'm hoping. But we're going to turn our boar into a tiller. So I think we'll make a video of that. We're going to just kind of let them do what they naturally do and just tear stuff up. But we're going to move them to certain areas where we want tore up.
They'll also fertilize it for free.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they'll drill it and plant it for you. And we just throw your seeds out and they'll get them in the ground. So yeah, I mean, keep an eye out for that if you're interested. But yeah, join us next week. Join Jess and Pam on Bordertown Strange. Christy, what was hers? Kindred Spirits, or what was it? You remember what that was? Jess,
Kindred
what was it?
Insights, I believe. Is
Kindred Insights. Check her podcast out. Mark, you said you were on there last night, right?
I was indeed. We were talking about prepping on a budget.
Yeah, cool.
And we had a really nice talk. So
awesome.
Do check that out.
Yeah, definitely. Kindred Insights is Christy's podcast. Go support her. Help her grow an audience too. So Christy's awesome. If you guys don't know who we're talking about, go check out 2 episodes ago on the Fringe.
Yep.
Go check her out. I mean, she's an awesome person.
She's the real deal.
Yep.
She did the quantum healing on my knee, and it feels much better.
Really cool, man. That's awesome. Yep. Was it last night?
It was Friday. Awesome. We had technical difficulties, so she just went with that.
Thanks for hanging out, Sylvian. Always enjoy having on, man. I mean, it's pretty cool that you're halfway across the world, but glad to have you on every time, man.
Absolutely, man.
Everybody in the chat, thanks for hanging out with us. Everybody listening, thanks for listening, giving us your time. We appreciate it greatly. It's up. I mean, this is your guys' show as much as it is ours. We wouldn't be doing this without you, so we really appreciate it. With that being said, guys, we'll catch you next episode.
Good night.